Hi folks, welcome back to Green Iron TV. We're back working on the 67 M725 ambulance that we've been in restoring. In the last episode we worked on my previous 67 ambulance. So we're back on this one and we're getting the original fuel tank all reinstalled, and we're going to work on the whole fuel system there, get that all revamped, and hopefully get this thing filled full of fuel, make sure everything works good, and get it back going off the original tank. So stay tuned, that's what's coming up. Alright, so it's time to get this fuel tank back up underneath the ambulance. So one of the things we've done is we've jacked it up just a little bit to give a little bit extra clearance, because with the ambulance sitting on the ground, there is just barely enough clearance to get the gas tank out between the frame rails, from under the frame rails. So jacking it up a couple inches is going to give us a little bit extra room to be able to maneuver and get this tank back up in there a lot easier. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it positioned over here and get the ground wire hooked back up, and then see about getting it stuffed up and into its position. Okay, we have that ground wire all attached. Next thing we're going to do is position this, and then we'll get the jack. We'll put the tank on the jack and jack it up and into position. okay. We have the tank all mounted back up into underneath the truck. We're getting the fuel fill tightened down. We have to reattach the fuel line. We've hooked up the fuel gauge sending unit and the ground for it. So got all the straps bolted back up. So we're getting close to having this tank job completely finished up. All right, folks, we're siphoning the gas out of the old boat fuel tank that the previous owner had been using, that was stored here underneath the rear storage in the back. So we're going to siphon that out. We have everything all hooked up for our original tank, and we should be able to pour some fuel in it and be able to run the vehicle. So we're getting there on having it operate off its original fuel tank, and I don't know how long it's been. So getting close. So there's that old boat tank that the previous owner had been using. To be welcome to get this out of the back of the vehicle and out of a patient compartment on the inside of the vehicle. Okay, folks, we have the gas cap off the 725 ambulance, and one of the things that leads me to believe why there were so much problems with the original tank is the fact that the original gasket is dry, brittle, and just plain rotten. So with that like that, that's going to let water down into the fuel tank to contaminate the fuel tank. So we're going to replace that out. Now here's an interesting tip. I got a new replacement gasket from Midwest Military. Now, for some of you folks that have more oddball military vehicles, like a 725 ambulance, a lot of times online you won't find a lot of common parts suppliers listing parts for 725 ambulance. But the thing to remember is it's a standard M series vehicle. Therefore, a lot of the pieces are the exact same between all the others. So this is actually the gas cap gasket for an M38A1, and it is the exact same gasket because it is the exact same gas cap because it was military standardized. So we'll put that on. And now we'll have a good seal on the gas cap. That'll help keep water and debris out of the tank. And now that we have that new gasket, we can reattach our safety chain to the fuel fill extension and put that back in the vehicle. And there, all reattached and ready to go back into the Jeep. All right, your fuel fill extension is going to go in. Now the purpose of this is you can pull this out and rotate it out to lock it so that you can pour fuel straight out of a jerry can without having to use a funnel, not have to try and get it down in the hole. So it turns and locks, and then you just turn, rotate it, drop it back in, and then make sure you tuck your chain in. There we go. And put your cap on. We got a nice good seal. Now we're all sealed up there. Okay, folks, we have the tank all reinstalled, hooked back up, all the lines plumbed to it. The electric running to the gauge. We should be able to jump in the Jeep now. Hit the power. Start and run off the fuel tank. And we even have a working fuel gauge. It is reading proper. So I'm going to consider this a success. The tank's working fine. The sending unit's working fine. And we're going to call this good. Alright folks, one of the things we got left to do here, get the spare tire back up underneath. So on the 725 ambulance and on the 715 cargo trucks, the spare mounts up underneath the back, and it uses an arm that you leverage up. It's got a bolt, and this leverages up, it's slotted, goes over, and then you tighten the bolt up to tighten the whole thing up. So it's quite the process to do because the tire is heavy. So we're gonna struggle with it probably and get it up there. So okay folks, now that we have it on facing the right direction, it has to go on with the outside of the wheel facing down. It's the only way it'll fit on there and hold in position. So that's why we've been struggling to get it on and balanced. So now that we have it on, we're going to go ahead and do the hard part now, which is muscle it up and get it hooked on the hook there, and then we can get it tightened down, and that should have it all up in position. Let's see what we can do. Alright, we got it locked into position. Now tighten it up. Alright, all tightened up. Our spare tire is now all locked in. Hopefully we don't ever have to change this on the road, because that is going to be a pain in the rump. So, one more project checked off the list. We're going to keep working our way down the list of the small little things we have left to kind of finish up here on the ambulance. Alright folks, here's a little tech tip for those of you that have the composite lights or some of the reflectors that have kind of gotten hazy and have a little bit of staining to them over time. This is a product, it's called Pledge Revive It. It's a floor polish. It's found in most big box stores in the floor care section and stuff like that. This used to be known as Future Floor Polish, and what it is, it's basically a clear acrylic. So we're going to just open it up, take a regular hobby brush, and we're just going to paint that on fairly thick. So when that dries, that's going to give a nice, good, clear, glossy shine to these taillights. Okay, folks, that's going to wrap up this episode of Green Airing TV. We've got the fuel tank and the original fuel system all restored back into this 1967 M725 Ambulance. And we also got the spare mounted up underneath. And we have a few other little odds and ends that we're going to continue to work on this Jeep. We have a siren to install, a few other little odds and ends. And we do have an upcoming show that we want to take this Jeep to. So in the next episode, we're going to show you some of those little finishing details before we end up taking this Jeep up to a show. So stay tuned. That'll be coming up in the next episode. But remember, like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate every little bit. Thanks, folks. Have a good evening.